Hello my dear students, today we will be doing another chapter in your grammar book, that is if clause. Now when we talk about clauses, the very first thing we should know that what is a clause. So now you can see what is a clause. It is a group of related words used together as a part of a sentence. It contains a subject and a verb. It makes complete meaning by itself. So that means it's a group of words that makes complete sense with a subject and a verb. You can see your example. He plays cricket regularly. Now in this sentence we will be seeing that is it fulfilling all that is whatever is said here in the clause. So now you can see that here he is the subject, plays is the verb. You can see it makes complete subject and a verb it has. Here also it has a subject and a verb. And the sentence, he plays cricket regularly, is making complete sense. That means it is a clause. Now the next is what type of clauses we will be studying. Now clauses are of two types: independent or the main clause, dependent or subordinate clause. Now in a sentence we have independent main clause or dependent subordinate clause. Now let's see what is independent clause. Independent clause makes complete sense. It does not need any other to make or to complete it. So you can see here in the sentence, you may sit. So you have a subject, you have a verb, and this sentence, you may sit, is making complete sense and it is fulfilling all that what is said about the main clause. Now let's see what is a dependent clause. From the word itself, dependent, you must have got an idea that it is dependent on the main clause. Now dependent also has a subject and a verb. No complete thought, dependent on the independent clause. Example, wherever you like. Now when we say wherever you like, it has a subject, it has a verb, but it doesn't have a complete thought. It needs independent clause or the main clause to complete it. So let's see when joining these two. You may sit wherever you like. Now the sentence is making complete sense. So that makes it into a complete clause where you have the main clause and the subordinate clause. So you can see here in the book, we are going to learn about if clause. If clause is also known as conditionals. Now in if clause, there are three kinds of condition, that is open condition, rejected condition and imaginary condition. Now these three conditions have three different things to relate to. For the first one, open condition, that is a condition which may or may not be fulfilled. Something that may or may not happen. Something that may or may not be fulfilled. You can see examples here. If it rains, the ground will be wet. If I turn the key, the box will be locked. If I drop the glass, it would break. So with the if, we can see this is the main and the subordinate clause. So if I drop the glass. So here if is the if conditional, something that if may or may not be fulfilled. So if I drop the glass, it would break. Or if I am not dropping the glass, it will not break. Some conditions may or may not be. If it rains, the ground will be wet. If it will not, the ground will not be wet. So there is a condition may or may not. The next is rejected condition. That is something which might have been fulfilled but is not. Something might have been fulfilled. That means something in the past. That might. If it is like a chain, like if this would have been fulfilled, then that would happen. So if I weren't so tired, I would go for a walk. So something, if I was not tired, then I would go for a walk. If I had time, I would have visited the exhibition. So agar, if I would have done this, then I would have done. So you can see something that has happened is not at all been something which might have been fulfilled but is not. Something in the past that might have been fulfilled. If he had worked harder, he would have passed the examination. Something in the past. The next is imaginary condition. That is one which cannot be true. If I were a millionaire, I would give a lot of money to the poor. If you were the president, you would live in Delhi. What would you do if you were attacked by a dinosaur? If he had all the wealth in the world, he still would be happy. So all these conditions you can see, something imaginary, something that cannot be true or something that cannot happen. So these are the imaginary conditions. So we studied about open conditions, something that may or may not be fulfilled. Rejected condition, something that might have been fulfilled in the past. It is all in the past. Very prominent thing you can know about in the past is had here, would have. So you can see something here that is in the past. Had shows the past perfect form of the tense. And in the imaginary condition, we can see was something that is at all not true. Something that is not true at all. So these were the three conditions we studied: open, rejected, and imaginary. Now to know how to do the exercise, we need to know the very important thing. That is how we will be able to fill in the blanks if it comes. So for that, we should know about the tenses. That is very important. So we should know which tense would come in a sentence. So let's study the tenses, how you will be able to solve the exercises later. Now let's see how you will use tenses to know which condition it is. See, in the open condition, we will be using present tense. If with present tense, that means it can be S or ES with the verb, that is simple present tense. And it is obvious that you will be using will or shall, will be or shall be. So just make sure that when you see a present tense, it will automatically be here will or shall, or if you see will or shall here, it will automatically be the present tense of the verb. That will be an open condition. Now in the rejected condition, as you know, we have talked about might have been. That means we were talking about the past. So here, past perfect, had left, past perfect will come, and automatically here in the second part, here in the subordinate or the dependent clause, it will be would not have missed or should not have missed. So when you do a rejected condition, just make sure that here if it is past perfect, here it will be would should, and if it is here it is would should, it will be past perfect in the sentence. Next is about the imaginary condition. Again, here in the sentence you can see when we have were, that is past tense, we will be putting here would should. We will not be having be here. So it should be would or should. So whenever we see an imaginary condition, and whenever we see a past tense here, we will automatically be putting here would should, or if it is a would should, then we will be here putting were. So these were the three conditions. Now whenever you do exercises, you need to remember how this is being done. You have to remember about the tenses. In the open condition, we use present tense with shall or will be. In the rejected, we used past perfect with should or would, and the past form of the verb, should, would, and the past form of the verb. In the imaginary condition, we use past tense with would or should. This can be vice versa also. In your exam, this can be given the first part of the sentence, the main clause, and you have to blank will be given here, or a blank will be given here in the dependent clause, and you have to fill that. So anyways, the blank can be given to do a sentence. So if this is clear to you, you'll be able to solve your exercises. So I hope you have understood if clauses, and I will be posting the exercises also after this. Thank you.